We talked at the outset about your family having been generations in South Africa, and you hearing a lot about that. Were there stories about apartheid in South Africa that were passed down that you heard growing up that you can share with us that maybe either informed the film or just were part of the backdrop of your life?
There were a couple of things that I tried to feature in the film in a fictionalized form that were actual events that took place. And actually the character of Amina was based on a real character that existed at that time. All that I knew about her from my mother and my grandmother was that she was a contemporary of my grandmother's who never got married. And even when they were discussing it, they wouldn't suggest why that might be, but just that she didn't like men. And that she wore trousers and she drove taxis. And that was all I knew about her. And that really became the seed of that character in the movie, because it made me then think, well, what is it that can make somebody like that thrive at that time and that place where, she's clearly an oddity and a complete, I can't say outcast from the community, but certainly different from everybody around. And from there I built in then the story of her grandmother, who was, raped and sent back to India as part of one of the things that gave her strength. And the other factor I had fictionally was her father, being a rather more relaxed kind of guy who didn't really care about people, and therefore probably gave Amina a bigger freedom. Another one of the stories from that time is actually of Amina's grandmother, the flashbacks that we see. My grandfather's first wife was, I think, had one baby girl and then couldn't have any more children, and was beaten until her back was broken and then sent back to India. And then my great-grandfather subsequently married again and had my grandmother. So, but that, of course, is not an apartheid story, but just as brutally within the system of the Indian community at that time, or certain aspects of it. These stories of injustice, I think, were very meaningful to me when I was growing up. I didn't want to go back to South Africa while apartheid was still in place. Even in the early 80s, my parents would go back and say, it's much better. We have British passports. We can sit wherever we like. We're allowed to go in big hotels now, and they were thrilled about it. Well, not thrilled about it, but it was a big progression for them. For me, it was, why should we be happy about something like that? We should be able to go. So militantly, I just couldn't bring myself to go back there for quite a while, until apartheid was legally over. But it was a very big influence on me.
So by the time you wrote the film, it was 10 years later after apartheid?
Yeah.
I mean, you had gone back?
Yeah, definitely. The novel came out, I think, in 2001, thereabouts.
Mm-hmm. Tell us how the film has been received around the world. I know that it's played festivals in different parts of the world, but then some places in the world it hasn't.
Yes. Well, we premiered at Toronto last year at TIFF, which was fantastic, and got a phenomenal reception. People just loved the movie. They always would, the Q&As went on forever. They would stop and talk to me afterwards, and I think it's great when people feel that inspired that they want to stop you and say a few words, and I really appreciated that. And we've had the same response. Then we went on to the London International Film Festival, and then various other film festivals, South Asian festivals, gay and lesbian festivals, and had a fantastic response everywhere we went. So it really was, a fantastic experience to go through that. We then applied, for example, to the Dubai Film Festival, and they
what happened there?
Well, they just said that the subject matter didn't exist. So
didn't exist.
Yeah, so we didn't get a rejection, but we didn't get to go there either. So I think it may not play in the Middle East anytime soon, but let's see.